Kim and I first met around 7 years ago and quickly became a couple. Both of us grew up in the Midwest, where our strong Christian beliefs placed God above all else, including our families. We enjoyed attending church every Sunday and discussing our future plans together. I was a thriving engineer with a bright future, and Kim worked as a salesperson for a major tech company in Atlanta. Before we tied the knot, my parents bought a cozy 3-bedroom house for me after I completed my college degree. They had managed to save up a significant amount of money and wished to share their success with others while they were still around. Many people only pass on their worldly possessions after they've passed away, never experiencing the joy of giving while they're still alive. My parents generously shared their blessings during their lifetime and relished the happiness it brought. Kim and I have been enjoying our blissful marriage for over 5 years now. Our relationship was strong, and we shared a deep connection with each other. We spent quality time together, making sure our friends admired our close and loving bond. We were blessed with 2 beautiful identical twin girls, and their arrival brought joy to our lives. We prioritized raising our daughters in a nurturing environment. Our lifestyle might be seen as simple by some. We enjoyed home-cooked meals most nights, went out on weekends, and attended church on Sundays. We didn't seek out the social scene or follow the latest fashion trends. Kim maintained a modest appearance at work and at home, saving her more daring outfits for our private moments. Our relationship was built on trust and open communication, creating a strong foundation for our marriage. Kim was a woman who expressed her love through affectionate touches, kisses, and hugs, and I cherished these moments with her. We openly shared our feelings and enjoyed each other's company. Having twins can be challenging and demanding, but I relished spending time with them. The twins added some stress to Kim's life, but I was more than willing to support her and share the responsibilities. Together, we made a great team and always resolved any issues before they escalated. With Kim and our twin girls, life was truly wonderful. The trade show. A week before the annual trade show, Kim was informed that she needed to attend this 3-day event. Due to others being sick with a virus, she was assigned to the show. Of course, she tried to get out of it, but the company was in desperate need, and she had no choice. "Baby, I'm so sorry about this. I hate leaving you and the girls for 3 days. I've called my boss twice and tried to get out of it, but he said he needed all of us at this event. You know how much I hate being away." I watched her pack for her trip and assured her that we would be okay for a few days, and that we would miss her. We were there to support her. I helped her with her luggage and brought it out for the company-hired limo to take her to the airport. As I mentioned earlier, we had a wonderful marriage and had complete trust in each other. Kim always acted as the perfect, loving wife, and we shared everything with each other, including our love for our children. We were always together, making our marriage strong. One day, I received a message from my colleague and friend Greg while I was spending time with my daughters. He asked how my weekend was going and if I knew which trade show Kim was attending. I was surprised by the question as I thought he knew about the trade show she was at. "I am. You said Kim is at a trade show, right? Do you know which one?" "Indeed, she's in Atlanta this week, but I can't recall the trade show's name. Her company is displaying their products at the convention center. Could you please tell me more?" I am seated and attentively listening. "What important information are you sharing with me, Greg?" 2 photos and a video appeared on my screen, and I was left speechless with fear. The first photo was of my wife wearing an unfamiliar outfit. It was a very short dress, revealing her shoulders and showcasing her beautiful features. She wore high heels that I didn't know she owned. Her hair and makeup were done up elegantly, making her look stunning and confident. In fact, I had never seen her look so glamorous before. When I saw the first photo, I couldn't believe it was her. It seemed too good to be true. I chuckled to myself, thinking how great it would be if my wife dressed like that more often, but that wasn't her style. I stopped chuckling when the next photo arrived, which was a close-up of her sitting quite near and grinning next to Jonathan, one of her colleagues she worked with. I remained still in astonishment, not moving, and didn't even blink until the next photo came in. This one was another close-up of her grinning and gazing into Jonathan's eyes. My pulse quickened when I saw that one, but attempted to reassure myself that there was a reasonable explanation until the next message arrived a few minutes later. This was a brief video of my spouse grinning and embracing Jonathan, with his hand on her shoulder. That's when I felt a surge of perplexity. I sensed my entire world trembling, and I couldn't comprehend what was transpiring. Tears of bewilderment began to trickle down my face, my heart was pounding, and I felt nauseous. The message arrived. "Hey, are you all right? What should I do?" "Can you see her right now?" Yes. I'm going to call her right now and just check in with her. I dialed her number and listened as the phone rang a few times before going to voicemail. I left a message, telling her that we miss her and just wanted to check in to make sure she was having a good night. I called Greg. I just called her. What did she do? David, I'm so sorry about this. She took the phone out of her purse, looked at the caller ID, and then put it back in the purse. Man, I can't believe that's her. I mean, I've never seen her act or dress like that. David, I never realized how lovely your wife is. Sorry, man, I didn't mean that. It's all right, Greg. Thanks for telling me this and not keeping it a secret. You're a great friend. I'll handle things on my own and you don't need to worry. If you can, avoid her seeing you. Keep me updated if anything else happens, but don't spend any more time watching her. I'll handle it from here, my friend. Are you going to be okay? Not really, but I know what I need to do, and I'll take care of it. I'm still in shock, and it'll take me some time to process everything, but you know I will. Thanks again. You're welcome. I'm here for you, buddy. Take care, Greg. Thanks again. I took a deep breath and sat in the dimly lit living room, trying to make sense of the situation. My world seemed to have fallen apart in just 20 minutes. I never knew there was an issue in our relationship. How long has this been happening? Did I miss the signs so completely? No, she never gave me any reason to believe that. In fact, over the past 6 months, she has been more loving than ever. Our connection has grown stronger, and our intimacy has doubled in intensity. This didn't add up, and I couldn't grasp any of it. Over the next hour, Greg shared more photos and clips. A brief video showed them dancing, with his hand on her back. Another short clip featured them kissing on the dance floor, and a final photo captured them in a deep kiss, all alone on the empty dance floor. It seemed they were so engrossed in their passionate moment that they didn't notice the music had stopped. Although I knew our relationship had come to an end, I couldn't help but feel the need to understand more. As an engineer and problem solver, I entered my analytical mindset and spent the following days devising a plan. Surprisingly, I received a call from Kim at 10 p.m. after the last photo of them came in. I took a deep breath and tried to regain my composure. I wasn't going to give anything away or let her know I had any idea of what she was doing. Hi, honey. I'm sorry I missed your call before. I was in a meeting and couldn't speak. I miss you so much, and I wish I was there with you right now. I miss you too, Kim. I love you so much, and thanks for calling. The girls are so cute, and I'll send you some photos. They miss their mom and want you to come home. I tried to leave tomorrow, but my boss said I needed to stay here. I hate being away from you, darling. We'll celebrate when you get home. Are you done for the night? Indeed, I'm preparing for bed and anticipating another busy day at work. I adore you, my dear, and I'll give you a call tomorrow. Good evening, Kim. I cherish you more than you can imagine. And I ended the call as my eyes welled up with tears. It was true. I adored her more than anything and wished this was just a dream. It was now past midnight as I lay in bed, unable to drift off to sleep. I pondered if she was truly in her hotel room and what she might be doing. My curiosity was satisfied when I received another message from Greg. It was a picture of my wife Kim and a man named Jonathan sitting on a couch in what appeared to be the hotel lobby. They were sharing a tender kiss, and his hand rested gently on her upper arm. They seemed like two friends, enjoying a moment of warmth and companionship. All right, that's it for tonight, my friend. It seems like she's going to be preoccupied. If you need me to intervene, I can handle it quickly. I appreciate these photos, even though it's tough to see. Don't get involved. Let her handle it. Just let it go. Thanks for your help. I cried myself to sleep, feeling heartbroken that the person I loved had broken our marriage vows and betrayed us. Sleep eventually erased the pain and tears. The next morning, I woke up to find several loving messages from Kim, with hearts, kisses, and smiley faces. She expressed her love, how much she missed me and the girls, and promised a wild night of fun when she returned. She appeared so kind and affectionate, as if nothing had transpired, and I started to question if perhaps she had some form of memory loss and wasn't aware of her actions. Maybe she had been given something? I sought answers, but I knew I had to confront reality and prepare. She would be returning home in just a few days, and I had to accept all of this. We spoke multiple times a day, and everything seemed normal. She expressed how much she missed all of us and couldn't wait to get back home. I wasn't sure what upset me more. Was it the betrayal of being with another man, or was it the deception and lies? She was manipulating me, and that was just as hurtful as witnessing her kissing Jonathan. After receiving Greg's messages, and the startling disclosure of my wife transforming me into a simp, I decided to take action. As the tech expert in our family, I had installed a special software on her phone that would assist in locating it if it was ever lost. I ensured to use the most recent software available, and even demonstrated to Kim how to utilize it. This software package also incorporated a voice, text, and email recorder with automatic cloud uploads if activated. Please note, I did not install this software on her phone to snoop on her, but it turned out to be quite helpful. Prior to last night, I would never have considered looking at her personal items, but after last night, my trust was shaken. I needed to safeguard the children and attempt to salvage our marriage if feasible. Fortunately, the girls kept me occupied, and my thoughts turned away from my difficult marriage. Preparing breakfast, tidying up after them, and playing with dolls was something I appreciated and cherished. I'm not sure if you've ever cared for twin 3-year-olds, but let me tell you, it's quite an exciting journey. It was 2 p.m., and I managed to get the girls down for a nap after lunch. I took a shower and organized the house before settling down to catch up on tasks. Kim sent me 6 more heartwarming texts and mentioned she would call at 5 p.m. after they finished for the day. After reading them, I accessed the cloud from my laptop, logged into her account, and reviewed everything that got uploaded since I installed the monitoring software. I sat there in astonishment as I read the messages being sent to Jonathan. Here are a few examples. You were incredible last night. I'm looking forward to spending more time together tonight. Thank you. I enjoyed our time together. Can we head back to your room after we finish before dinner? Of course, but I need to give my husband a call before we leave. I should be ready by 5:15. Does your husband know about us? No, he doesn't. He knows how much I love him, and I'll make sure he continues to know that. Our relationship is something he never needs to be aware of. We've kept it a secret for over 6 months, and he has no idea. I know how to handle him, so don't worry. I couldn't believe what I was reading. My anger was uncontrollable. How could he call her Kitten, the same nickname I used when we were close? Had she given that to him too? Was I really that oblivious? I felt like such a fool. After taking a deep breath, I continued to go through the files. I couldn't believe what I saw next. Jonathan had sent my wife an inappropriate photo of himself, something I could never imagine sharing with anyone else. Seeing his large asset in such detail made me feel disgusted and violated. The next image made me feel even more upset. It was a close-up of my wife's now shaved private area, with a note that read, "Come lick me, baby." I couldn't believe the disrespect he had shown towards me and our relationship. My heart was breaking as I tried to process the betrayal I was experiencing. A groomed private area? When did she do that? She never even trimmed it for me, and now she shaved it for him. She's sending him explicit photos with a "come taste me" message. I slammed the laptop shut, stood up, and shouted in frustration. I grabbed the lamp from the table and hurled it at the wall, shattering it into 1,000 pieces. The anger I had learned to control had now taken over. I was about to break the other lamp when I heard the girls crying. The crying snapped me back into reality, and I quickly regained control. I went into the bedroom and held both girls until they stopped crying and calmed down. I let them play in the living room as I sat on the chair with another stiff drink, after cleaning up the mess from my outburst. In my mind, the marriage had reached its end, and it was time to take action. I didn't have the strength to listen to any more of their discussions, or view any additional uploaded files, and I allowed them to pile up in the cloud. I concluded that the most effective course of action was to cooperate with Kim, just as she was manipulating me. I would pretend to be a devoted husband while devising my strategy. My initial plan was to contact a divorce attorney, a private investigator, and devise a method to secure custody of the children. The children were my top priority, and the only thing that truly mattered to me in this world. 5 p.m. phone call. "Hi, sweetheart. How are the kids?" "They miss their mom." "Oh, wow, they're always on my mind throughout the day. And of course you are too. I can't wait to give you a big hug when I get home. I'm going to give you the warmest, most heartfelt kiss you've ever experienced." I playfully respond, "Oh, sweetheart, you're always on my mind too, and I can't wait to hold my loving, caring spouse. Soon, my love. We'll be together again soon." Somehow I manage to stay composed, and the call lasts for exactly 15 minutes. At 5:15, she ends the call and says, "I love you, David. I need to go now, as the bus back to the hotel is leaving, and I must leave. I'll text you later. I love you." Another easily shared truth. She's definitely skilled at that. "I love you too, my dear. more than you could ever imagine. The discomfort from her dishonesty had evolved into disapproval, anger, and a yearning for justice. I was resolved to confront this woman and hold her accountable for her dishonesty and betrayal. I had cared for this woman deeply, and this was the most difficult decision I've ever faced. Returning home, I picked her up at the airport, and she warmly hugged me, giving me the kiss she had promised. I couldn't discern if she was an outstanding actress or genuinely cared for me that much. Was she using Jonathan merely for physical closeness? Her actions continued to baffle me. She spent an hour with the girls and cherished the time spent with them. That night in bed, she expressed her affection towards me, mentioning how much she missed the girls and disliked being away from us for such a long time. She shared that all she could think about was being close to me, just like they were now, holding each other in bed. She was gentle, affectionate, and displayed a completely different side than the woman who attended the convention. I truly cherished the time spent with her, and it brought me immense joy. I wished our connection could be real, as I wanted to spend my life in this blissful state with her. However, I knew our time together was limited. I never revealed my discovery, and I showered her with love and fulfilled her desires each night. To an outsider, our relationship appeared to be a perfect love story, and they might have envied our bond. For 3 months, I kept a watchful eye for any indications of infidelity, but found none. She consistently returned home from work at the same time, with no unusual phone calls or text messages. I even began to wonder if perhaps this was all a misunderstanding, and our situation would eventually resolve itself. I received a call from Mr. Bryce, the private investigator, and arranged a meeting for the next day. I went downtown to their office and was led to the conference room. "Good afternoon, David. Nice to see you again." "Good to see you too, Mr. Bryce." "David, I regret that I don't have good news for you. I wish I could tell you otherwise, but I'm afraid I have some troubling information. Are you prepared to see what we found?" I sighed and agreed. While I hoped for the best, I knew about the situation between Kim and Jonathan. Mr. Bryce pulled out a thick 3-ring leather binder and placed it in front of me. The sections were labeled text messages, voice transcripts, video links, phone call transcripts, and photos. "Mr. Bryce, I must admit I'm baffled as well. Over the past 3 months, I've been closely observing her actions and routines, and she's been the ideal wife and partner. I can't fathom what could be amiss. Allow me to walk you through this, and perhaps things will become more apparent." I had chosen to cease investigating the digital files, as my heart couldn't endure the overwhelming proof. I yearned for the best, but in my heart, I knew that wasn't going to transpire. There were over 75 pages of text messages, 25 pages of emails, 75 pages of images with them together entering and exiting hotel rooms, all with timestamps. There were over 82 video links and 50 pages of phone conversations. Kim and Jonathan regularly visited the motel approximately 4 times a week over the past 3 months. Photos of them together can be found daily at 1 p.m. They usually spent 2 hours together during each visit. In the last month, it appears that Kim has been visited by 2 men 4 times a week. One of these men is someone you might know, Jason Sinclair, the CEO of her company. I regret to tell you, but based on the text messages, phone calls, and videos, it seems your wife is involved with another person. The video labeled Balcony shows them together, with your wife leaning over the railing. They thought they were safe and unnoticed, but they were actually being recorded. Our high-resolution video captured their faces, and audio as well. He displayed the video on a large screen, revealing Kim, my wife, with her CEO behind her. They were engaged in an intimate moment. I couldn't help but feel unwell as I watched, especially when I saw the expressions on their faces. I had to step out for a few minutes to collect myself. I walked back into the conference room and insisted they keep going, as I wanted to see what my wife had been up to. The video labeled Balcony 2 shows your wife with a man's body part in her private area and another man's body part in her mouth. I apologize for having to show this. However, since they were in public, you can use these videos if you choose to move forward with a divorce and a custody battle. He played the video of my loving wife being surrounded by her boss and CEO. I sat there with my mouth open in shock. The same woman who would never take my body part in her mouth was being surrounded and swallowing their substances. I still struggled to believe this could be my wife, and hoped it was all a terrible mistake. "David, we investigated both Jonathan Wilkes and Jason Sinclair, and discovered the following. Jonathan has been married for 10 years with 4 young children. while Mr. Sinclair has been married for 25 years and has 3 adult children. It seems from the text messages that Jonathan introduced Jason after your wife mentioned wanting to explore a different relationship dynamic. I'll let you review the information when you're ready. Please take the binder and this USB, which contains all the files and videos. Your attorney will surely find the information useful. When I met my attorney, she was amazed by the extensive data we collected and couldn't believe there were no signs of my wife's relationship exploration at home. She continued to play her part as the devoted wife and mother, acting as if everything was fine. The lawyer shared with us various steps we could take based on the materials given. She asked for time to investigate all our choices and set up a meeting for the upcoming week. I urged her to start the divorce process right away. As we left the office, I felt a profound emptiness. The videos destroyed any possibility of reconciliation. I questioned, who was this woman? Once the girls were in bed, we sat on the couch and watched a movie I chose on Netflix called Unfaithful. I've heard this is a good movie, let's give it a try, I said as I hit play. During the movie, I told Kim about a girl in my office who had been showing interest in me. Can you imagine me with another woman? I asked, laughing. She looked at me seriously and said, if I find out you're even thinking about being with her, I don't know what I'll do. You belong to me, nobody else. She made it clear that she wouldn't tolerate any cheating. I was surprised by her reaction, considering her own infidelity. She got upset over this, while she was involved with 2 men behind my back. It was unbelievable. I'm so frustrated, David. Why didn't you tell me about her before? What's her name? Kim, calm down. She's an intern, a young girl that likes to flirt. I ignore her completely. What about you, Kim? You're the most attractive girl in your office. Are you telling me nobody flirts with you? Of course not. They all know I'm married and that I would never cheat on you. So, in our entire marriage, have you ever thought about being with another guy? Or done anything, even a friendly kiss? You've never cheated on me, right? Now she was really upset. Are you serious? Did you really just ask me that? I constantly express my love for you, I'm always with you, and I could never think of being with another man. You're insensitive. I can't believe you asked me that. I apologized and agreed with her, and we continued watching the movie. I smiled to myself, thinking she should have been an actress because she was so convincing. No wonder she was good at her job. After things calmed down, she snuggled back into my shoulder. I thought it was the right time to do something. I picked up my phone, opened my text app, and chose the photo of Kim and Jonathan dancing with a playful moment. As I looked at it, she noticed my distraction. What are you doing, David? Why aren't you watching the movie? I replied, because this is more realistic? She asked, what are you talking about? I muted the movie and showed her the photo. She froze and tried to say something, but nothing came out. I sat there still looking at the photo and said, wow, that sure is a sweet moment you're sharing with Jonathan. I can explain. Where did you get that photo? When you were at dinner with your friend, Greg Stanton, he was at the same restaurant and saw you with that guy. He texted me to see if that was really you, or a perfect look-alike. Well, it was you and he sent this over. Moreover, I have to say you look so beautiful in that dress. I've never seen you in a dress so short or revealing. I guess you wanted to impress your friend. Oh, you were going to explain this. I can't wait to hear this, I said, putting the phone back on my lap. Sweetheart, we had one dance together, and he had been drinking. When the song ended, he pulled me close and shared a kiss. What you don't see is that right after, I stepped back and made quite a commotion. I would never allow that to happen again. I did purchase that dress for a professional dinner, but I didn't realize how revealing it was until now. I'm truly sorry. Oh, I understand, that can happen. And was that the only time that occurred? I could sense that she wasn't her usual self-assured self, and she replied, yes, my love, and he won't do that again. The film continued, and I settled back into my seat quietly, knowing that Kim was feeling uneasy. After a few moments, I took out my phone and opened the image of them on the couch with his hand near her skirt and began examining it. She looked at me with a frightened expression. What are you looking at now? Do you remember that night when you called me, saying you had a long day and were getting ready for bed in your room? Yes, she whispered gently. It's funny because I got another message from Greg a few hours later. This time it was a video. Would you like to watch it? I asked, tapping the play button and showing the video for her and Jonathan to view. It showed Greg and me sharing a kiss, with his hands gently touching areas that were supposed to be just between us. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, I said. my irritation fading and being replaced by a sense of amusement and disdain at their reactions. "Oh my gosh, David, I'm so sorry. After our phone call, Jonathan contacted me and said we needed to discuss an issue with one of our accounts for a morning meeting. He asked me to go to the lobby to get ready. I barely remember the video because I had a few drinks and got a little tipsy. You know how I act when I'm tipsy. The video looks bad, but nothing happened after that. I do remember going up to my room and telling him to stop. I explained that I was happily married and left. I promise you nothing happened. You have to believe me." I replied, "That's part of the problem, kitten," using her nickname. I noticed her blink when I said that and continued. "The problem is that I've always trusted you, but you've lied to me twice in the last 20 minutes about some important matters. Can you understand my perspective? I'm feeling overwhelmed and lonely, and I see pictures of my wife and her boss being overly friendly, wearing an outfit that makes me uncomfortable. How do you think I feel, baby?" "David, I love you. That was a few months ago. Why didn't you bring it up sooner?" "To be honest, I wanted to see if you would bring it up yourself. I wanted to see if my wife was honest and open with us, as we've always been with each other. But now I see the situation more clearly. Are you hiding anything else from me? Is there an issue going on with her boss? Do you still care for him?" I was playing with her now and enjoying her confusion and her acting. She started sobbing and continued telling me how much she cared for me. "Kim, please stop telling me that you care for me so much. I'm sure you care for me, and I still care for you, but that has nothing to do with these photos. I need to understand why and if there is anything else you are concealing," I said, as I pressed the voice recorder on the phone without her knowledge. "Kim, listen to me. Nothing happened. Yes, I guess I kissed him like you saw, but that was it, and each time I told him to stop. I'm not sure what Greg saw or told you, but you have to believe me. All right, stop crying, dear. I trust you. I must admit, I was a bit perplexed by your attire and hairstyle. It's not something you typically wear, and I was curious if it was for someone else. Please tell me, do you have feelings for him? Are you considering leaving me for him, Kim? I need to know the truth." The sobbing resumed. "No, David. I only have feelings for you. I don't want to lose you. I don't know why I dress like that. It's not like me. Maybe I was influenced by the other women. I wanted to look as good as them. I was feeling a bit insecure, I guess. I can understand that, and it makes sense. But why didn't you share with me about Jonathan and your time together?" "Since nothing really happened and I put a stop to it, I didn't want to upset you. I mean, he's my boss, and I couldn't afford to lose my job if anything happened. If anything did happen, I would have told you right away, you know that." I held her gently, letting her cry herself out. This was just the beginning of a month-long episode of playing out my revenge. We shared a tender moment, and I enjoyed her amazing skills, detached as her husband, and thinking of myself as one of her partners. I wasn't going to deprive myself of her company and alert her to anything out of the ordinary. I did question her on her shaved private part, and wondered how she would respond. "This is new. Did you shave your private part for your boyfriend? You never did that for me when I asked you before." "No, don't be foolish. I did it tonight to make things more lively and to demonstrate to you that I'll go to great lengths for you. I care for you deeply. I am devoted to you." Her performance was remarkable, but at this moment, I no longer cared. She was more fervent than ever, attempting to persuade me that I was her one and only love. This persisted over the following weeks, each night. Her acting abilities were at their peak, and I simply appreciated the performance. The next morning, I examined the cloud to see if she had any communication with Jonathan, and of course, she didn't fail to impress. "Oh my gosh! Someone took pictures of us at the convention and sent them to David. His friend was at the restaurant and saw me without David. I'm not sure what he knows, but the video was of us hugging with your hand on my, personal area while we sat on the couch in the lobby." "Wow, that's surprising. I remember a guy with a phone across from us watching, but I didn't think anything of it. What did David do?" "Nothing. I convinced him nothing had happened, and I stopped you. He has no clue that I spent the night in your room. I'll convince him it was the alcohol and make it up to him. He's easy to convince. A few hugs in my, personal area are all I ever need to give him. Be careful, babe. We're still on for tomorrow. I'll meet you there at 1 p.m. As usual. I'm eagerly anticipating our special moment together. It's been quite a while. Love you, my love. Love you too, my dear." With that, our conversation concluded, and I found myself deep in thought. Yes, I might be considered somewhat naive, but sweet retribution is worth it. I'm savoring every moment of Kim's actions and observing how many more falsehoods she'll concoct. The initial step I undertook was to address our financial situation. I rearranged funds, shuttered accounts, and so forth. I maintained our primary Visa card open, but reduced the limit to $2,500 to minimize any potential harm she might inflict. Since Kim had no inkling of how displeased I was, she never imagined I would make any adjustments. I confirmed with the attorney that since the house was mine prior to the marriage, I wouldn't have to give it up once she was notified. I also prepared the widely known email I would eventually distribute, including videos, text messages, and photos to all of her friends, family, and work associates. Furthermore, I created duplicate 3-ring binders from my private investigator's findings for Mrs. Sinclair and Mrs. Wilkes to share my hardship. I intended to send these at the same time as everyone was being informed and cases were filed. I had my attorney prepare to file civil suits against both Jonathan, her superior, and Jason, the CEO of the company. As the company was one of the largest tech firms on the East Coast, my attorney was eager about the CEO's involvement. We planned to present a settlement offer before disclosing the CEO and manager's alleged mistreatment of employees. We worked with family services attorneys for full custody of the children and organized the paperwork, files, and binder from the investigation. Over the next few weeks, things seemed ordinary. We cherished the time spent with the kids and enjoyed everyday activities together, just as usual. We dined and discussed various topics, always avoiding the significant issue that loomed over us. I'm sure my silence about that matter was causing her great distress. Not knowing what I was thinking must have been quite taxing. I decided to engage Kim in some lighthearted conversation and asked, "So Kim, has your boss shown any interest in you since the convention? Is there anything you'd like to share with me?" I knew from overhearing her conversations with Jonathan that they continued to meet at the hotel daily. I wasn't sure how she managed to maintain her composure and deceive so effortlessly. It was amusing to observe her reactions, and now I can even tell when she's about to lie. She replied serenely, "No, not at all. It's peculiar because we both seem to ignore what occurred. In reality, nothing happened. He's maintained a professional demeanor, and our conversations are infrequent due to our hectic workloads." I couldn't help but sit there, a mixture of shock and disbelief washing over me as I realized my partner, the mother of my children, and the love of my life, had lied to me so effortlessly. The anger coursing through my body demanded an outlet, and I found release that night, making love to her with a newfound intensity. Our connection transcended the usual boundaries, and I couldn't help but take control, guiding her to satisfy my desires. I pushed her limits, testing her resolve, and found myself exploring new depths of passion. The experience left us both breathless, our bond stronger than ever. "Wow, David, you're acting quite differently tonight. I've never seen you so energetic and lively. I enjoyed it." As I pondered, I knew this would be our last time together before things took a turn for the worse tomorrow, and I intended to make the most of it with my soon-to-be former spouse. Early the next morning before I left for work, I knew my little girls were still asleep. I gently woke Kim up, and we shared a tender moment before I left for the day. The anger still raged deep within me, and my thoughts continued to be dark and intense. Papers served. That afternoon, the sheriff walked into the office of Tricom International and demanded to see Mr. Sinclair. Moments later, Sheriff Clark entered Sinclair's office and handed him an envelope. "Mr. Sinclair, you've been served." A moment later, he stood alone in his spacious office, clutching the envelope. Anxiety filled him as he read the complaint for the third time. He instructed his secretary to summon Jason to his office. While the secretary made the call, Jason had just been handed the complaint by the same sheriff. He rushed to Sinclair's office, and they both stood there, shocked and puzzled. "What? How did this happen, Jason? If my wife finds out about this, I'll be ruined. This is your fault. You told me this woman would never betray us. You need to fix this, Jason, or I swear I'll make sure you and your family suffer. Do you understand?" Sinclair was a man you didn't cross. A streetwise, determined individual who had fought his way to the top of a multi-billion-dollar organization and had no intention of giving it up for anyone. He had a stern warning for Jonathan if the situation wasn't resolved. Jonathan hurried out of his office and headed to the 12th floor to speak with Kim. As he walked down the hallway towards Kim's office, he noticed the sheriff approaching from the opposite direction, having just come from Kim's office. Jonathan quickly entered Kim's office to find her sitting at her desk, tears streaming down her face. She was sobbing uncontrollably and unable to speak. The world had just crashed around her, just as she had done to David a few months ago. It took over an hour for her to calm down enough to be able to talk, and even then, she could hardly put a sentence together. Kim, what happened? How did he find out about all of us? What do you mean? I just got served divorce papers. What do you mean, us? Sinclair and I have also been served and are in a civil lawsuit for what has happened. We don't know what evidence he has, but it must have been something more than those 2 images you saw. You need to resolve this, or Sinclair will cause trouble for us and my family. This is bad. This is horrible. Go home and figure this out. Call me tonight if you can, and let me know what's happening. Kim gathered her belongings and drove home, her heart pounding. Her beloved husband David, the father of her children, was contemplating ending their marriage. Though she didn't want a divorce, Kim couldn't deny the intense feelings she experienced. She needed David to comprehend. She couldn't lose him over this. Upon arriving at their house, she discovered it empty. Their daughters were at David's sister's house, as they did every afternoon while they both worked. Kim called Kathy and requested if she could keep the girls overnight. Kathy was thrilled to have them for the night, not inquiring about the reason. Kim spent her time preparing, taking a shower, styling her hair, and applying makeup. As she waited anxiously for David to return from work, she heard the garage door at 6 o'clock. Her nerves raced as she awaited his entrance into the house. Hi, Kim. I didn't expect to see you tonight. I thought you would be with Jonathan. Oh, wait, he's married and has children, so that might be a bit complicated. David, please let's talk. She guided him to sit next to her on the couch. She looked well-groomed and more pleasant than he usually saw her. He anticipated this and continued to play the game. David, I received some legal papers today, as you're aware. But do you understand that I don't want a divorce? I need you, and I care for you. I won't sign those documents. Jonathan is not important to me. Yes, we shared a moment. But it wasn't love. I just needed that connection. And I'm truly sorry. I promise it won't happen again. Oh, you promise. I guess I can trust you now, so yes, I'll let go of the past and return to our normal relationship, I said with a warm smile. Kim hugged him tightly and kissed him. Thank you, sweetheart. I love you so much. I'm glad you're willing to forgive me and trust me again. I promise to always be honest with you from now on. That was a shock. I thought she understood my sarcasm. I stepped back and moved away. Are you completely out of your mind, woman? I could never trust you again. After all your lies and deception, there's nothing left. I gave you so many chances, but you kept lying and cheating on me, ruining our lives. I know everything. Your daily lunch meetings at the hotel with your bosses. Did you really think I would take you back after everything you've done? Have you even considered the harm you're causing to the girls? There's no way I can ignore this. But you have to. And why are you targeting Sinclair and Jonathan? Well, your former friends are also your supervisor and CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. After I part ways with them, I'll need financial support in order to maintain the well-being of the girls. Properly. As they played a role in contributing to the end of our relationship in my life, I plan to target them as well. I aim to disrupt their family, cause financial harm to them, and address the situation similarly to how they treated you. Kim had never witnessed David so angry and focused before. The gravity of the situation finally dawned on her, and she understood that she no longer had control over the situation or her husband. All she could do now was plead. With tears streaming down her face, she knelt before David and begged for forgiveness. David felt sympathy for her, but his anger prevailed, and he lifted her onto the couch. In a soothing voice, David addressed Kim as if she were a child. Kim, you need to pack a bag and stay at your mom's house for a few nights. Find a lawyer, and then we can arrange a meeting to discuss things. For now, I advise you to avoid Jason and Jonathan. Things are about to get difficult. Later that night at her mom's house, she shared that David and she had a disagreement, and they needed to stay there for a few days. At 11 p.m. that same evening, she called Jonathan's cell. Jonathan told her to hold on and quickly linked Jason into a three-way call. Jason, Kim, are you there? Yes, we're here. Sinclair began the conversation. So, Kim, did you get him to back off on the lawsuits and the divorce? No, in fact, he kicked me out and warned me to watch out because it's going to get tough. Sinclair exclaimed into the phone, Jesus Christ, Jonathan, what have you done? Kim, I really need you to make this go away. Kim was upset. I don't know what to do. He's acting irrationally and won't listen to anything I say. He's not even picking up my calls or responding to my texts. Sinclair responded, Jonathan, you need to resolve this. Arrange a meeting with David. Have him meet us somewhere, like a bustling bar, the noisier the better. Kim, you'll be there too, and you'll ask him to drop the lawsuit in front of us. If he refuses, then Jonathan and I will explain how detrimental it would be for him and his family if he doesn't back off. I have professionals on standby to handle situations like this, and I won't hesitate to use them to prevent this from turning into a complete disaster. Jonathan, do you understand what you need to do? Yes, Mr. Sinclair. Kim, you know what you have to do, right? Yes, Mr. Sinclair. Complete the task and arrange a meeting for tomorrow afternoon. Time is of the essence. Set up a gathering tomorrow. Sinclair left. Kim and Jonathan ended their call a few minutes later, considering the circumstances. That night, David heard the call and wasn't shocked by the urgency. He devised his own strategy. As anticipated, the following morning, Jonathan contacted David and proposed a meeting to discuss a resolution. He suggested they meet at the yard house at 6 p.m. that evening. David consented and arrived at his private investigator's office at 4 p.m. to be fitted with a discreet recording device for the meeting with Jonathan. They employed state-of-the-art noise-canceling technology to focus on voice frequency for clear audio, even in a bustling environment. Additionally, the PI would be present to videotape the encounter as a backup to the event. David entered the room at 6:15, allowing extra time for the PI to set up his video camera. He noticed Kim and approached the group, saying, "Kim, I'm surprised to see you here with your friends, but we know where your loyalty lies. Gentlemen, what brings you here?" Sinclair replied, "David, I'm Jason Sinclair, and I requested this meeting." David responded, "Sinclair, you look different in person. Those videos don't capture you accurately. It's nice to meet you." Sinclair continued, "Yes, that's why we're here. This is Jonathan Wilkes." David expressed his displeasure. "Jonathan, the man who's been involved with my wife and causing problems in my marriage. It's not nice to meet either of you." Sinclair sighed. "I understand your frustration, but we need to find a resolution." David asked, "What do you propose?" Sinclair replied, "We want you to withdraw the lawsuits against yourself, Jonathan, and the company." David chuckled. "Is that all? Well, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. Someone has to be held accountable for taking away the most important thing in my life." He looked at Kim and continued, "The love of my life and the mother of my children. I can't imagine life without her." Kim began to cry as she realized the impact of her actions on her own life. David asked, "What would it take for you to stop all of this and take Kim back? What is your price?" "First of all, there is no amount of money in the world that you could offer me to take her back. She betrayed my love, my trust, and our children's lives for a moment of weakness with you two. That's never going to happen. I will drop the civil and corporate cases under 2 conditions. Number 1, I want a $5 million settlement. Number 2, I want a meeting with both your wives and Kim and a full confession of what you've done. If you agree to these 2 stipulations, I'll drop the cases. David, I'll give you $100,000, but you must sign an agreement to never discuss this with anyone." Sinclair leaned in and spoke quietly. "I can't let my family be involved in this situation, and if they find out, I will do everything to protect them. Kim told us your daily routine and we could make you disappear, so let's try again." He was shocked when David smiled and took a sip of his drink. "I can lower the amount to $4 million, but your family needs to know what you've done." Sinclair was taken aback. "David, you're making a dangerous decision. Consider dropping the charges and taking Kim back. It was just a misunderstanding. We can move on from this." David grabbed his phone and sent 2 texts. He then opened his email and sent the pre-written email. All the videos, images, text, and messages were now on their way to everyone in Kim's life, her friends, family, and work colleagues. The 2 text messages David sent were for the couriers waiting outside Jason and Jonathan's house. The message read, "Deliver the package." A few minutes later, Mrs. Sinclair and Mrs. Wilkes received duplicates of the 3-ring binder containing photos, videos, messages, phone calls, and evidence of their affair. David ensured that the cover of the Sinclair binder featured a screenshot of Jason and Kim in a compromising position, while for Mrs. Wilkes, he arranged a screenshot of Kim and Jason with Jonathan's involvement. The impactful cover photo added an element of excitement to the situation. Sinclair was growing increasingly irritated with David's lack of focus. "Hunter, I'm addressing you," he exclaimed. "Will you reconsider your decision?" Hunter's response was frosty. "My response to you, Jason, Jonathan, and my so-called spouse is, seek your own path." As Hunter spoke, both Jason and Jonathan's phones began to ring. Their spouses were on the line. Sinclair's face turned crimson, and he glared at Hunter with venom in his eyes. Jonathan seemed stunned, and tears welled up in his eyes. Kim noticed the tension and inquired about the situation. Hunter suggested, "Check your email in a few minutes, and I believe you'll comprehend." Sinclair ended his call with his spouse and pointed a finger at Hunter. "You're in for it, Hunter. I'll make sure your throat is cut, and I'll watch you expire like a stray animal," he threatened before departing the bar. Jonathan stared at me, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Why?" he repeated, his voice shaking. "Why did you do this to me?" I couldn't believe he was asking such a question. "Really? You've been betraying my trust and the love of my life, the mother of my twin girls, for the past 6 months. You set her up with Sinclair for a 3-way affair, and you're surprised that someone might retaliate? Everything I sent your wife was to help her understand the kind of deceptive predator you are, and how you've destroyed so many lives." Kim's phone started ringing quickly, as her sister, brother, and aunt called one after another in a short span. They had all seen the video and photos and were excited to talk about them. Kim insisted she had no idea what they were discussing and opened her email to check the contents I had sent. Her eyes widened in surprise and she glared at me with irritation. "How could you do this to me?" "You made it all too easy, dear. I do care for you, but it's time to move on. And after I share this audio recording from the meeting with the authorities, my lawyer believes that I'll have full custody of the girls, and you may face legal consequences. Sorry, kitten. The nickname you shared with your... well, you know. I understand everything now, princess, and it's time for you to face the consequences of your actions." 6 months later, to avoid public scrutiny, Tricom resolved the lawsuit with a $2.25 million payment to David Hunter. Jason. Sinclair was dismissed from his position as CEO and let go without any severance package for violating the morality clause in his contract. This resulted in a loss of over $10 million in stock options and a $5 million severance agreement for Sinclair. All of this happened due to his inappropriate actions towards David's wife. Sinclair is currently serving a 5-year sentence for conspiracy to commit murder and several other charges after an investigation into his business practices. While in jail, his wife divorced him, leaving him with no financial support and no place to live. He will be released from prison with no money, no family, and no home. This news brought some relief to David, and even brought a smile to his face for the first time in months. Mrs. Wilkes separated from Jonathan, leaving him without financial stability or a home. He now had to deal with child support and half his income as alimony. The legal proceedings led to a $1 million fine for his part in the conspiracy, infidelity, and the collapse of David and Kim's marriage. Jonathan lost his job and started working as a day laborer. David, still basking in his retribution, discovered Jonathan's situation. Now, struggling financially, Jonathan resided under a bridge near the day workers' pickup spot, which only added to David's delight and frequent grin. Kim faced a 5-year sentence, but with David's help, her punishment was reduced to 1 year of house arrest and 4 years of probation for conspiracy. She lost the battle for her children, and now David has full custody. The crime and evidence affected the divorce negatively, leaving Kim without a home as the house belonged to David. She used to earn as much as David, but after being fired, there was no alimony or child support. Kim's depression deepened, and she now lives in her mother's basement. Her family distanced themselves from her due to her actions, causing her to lose visitation rights to her children. The email with the attached video and photos exposed a hidden side of Kim that nobody had seen before. The situation had a profound effect, leading to a collapse in Kim's support system. No one seems capable of forgiving Kim, not even herself. Due to her difficulties, she has made 3 attempts at self-harm and is now taking medication. Over the past 6 months, she has been in and out of mental health facilities. Despite her actions, she cannot forgive herself for the negative impact she has had on others. In contrast, David has devoted himself to his daughters. With the financial settlements, he no longer needs to work and can concentrate on raising his children. The girls have not seen their mother since the self-harm incidents, but have a strong support system from David's sister and mother. Despite the challenges they have faced, the girls are expected to be resilient and not experience any long-term effects from this trying time. Revenge was satisfying, but revenge couldn't completely mend David's heart. He pardoned Kim, but he wouldn't forget. Spending time with the girls kept him from feeling lonely. Due to the betrayal, falsehoods, and deceit, it took years for David to love and trust again. It's astonishing how small things can influence many people's lives. Be cautious.